Hi everybody, it's Terry Ryder from hotspotting.com.au bringing you my weekly feature at this time, Hotspot of the Week. And this week I want to concentrate on a particular part of the property market in southeast Queensland and the Brisbane metropolitan area. One of the reasons for that is that Brisbane is just so much of the conversation at the moment in terms of property markets that are likely to surge next. We all know that the party for Sydney is over and that Melbourne is winding down, and the question that everyone's asking is where next, and there are a number of answers to that question, but Brisbane is certainly one that's featuring a lot in the conversation because the underlying state economy is improving and the population data increasingly is favouring Brisbane. The recent state budget announced major uptick in spending on infrastructure, which I think is a very influential factor. One of the major factors that's driven Sydney's booming economy and property market in recent years. So a lot of the stars are falling into alignment to suggest that finally, after several years in which people have been predicting big things for Brisbane, we may actually see some overall performance. And I certainly think that's true. The affordability equation and the rental yields comparison certainly favour Brisbane compared to the biggest cities, and excuse me, a lot of the economic data is starting to trend in the right direction. And we've seen an increasing number of forecasters coming out with fairly bullish predictions for price growth in the Brisbane market generally. So I want to focus on one of those affordable parts of the Brisbane market, which is Ipswich City. I'm going to construct a picture of the Ipswich City property market in the way that we construct our location reports. If you go to the hotspotting.com.au website, click on investors, you'll find reference to location reports. That's where we list all the locations around Australia that we rank highly and for which we have location reports that you're able to buy. And firstly, in those reports, we talk about location. The Ipswich CBD is about 40 kilometres southwest of Brisbane, but actually the Ipswich CBD is actually the farthest flung part of the Ipswich local government area. There are sections of the Ipswich City municipality which are about 20 or 25 kilometres from the centre of Brisbane. It's down in the southwest. It's characterised primarily by the affordability of its real estate. This is probably the most affordable part of the Brisbane metropolitan area property markets. Ipswich City has a population approaching 200,000 and it's a growth centre. There is land available for new development. The land is relatively cheap. There's lots of jobs nodes evolving out there. The infrastructure is pretty good, and the population of Ipswich City is projected to reach 435,000 by the year 2016. So that's what they're suggesting compared to the population at the 2016 census, is that in 15 years the population of Ipswich City is going to more than double. Okay, so that's the locational and population characteristics of that area. The next thing we look at in a typical location report on the Hotspotting website is the underlying economy. This is really important. I think this is what drives property markets primarily. Ipswich has a very strong economy. A lot of businesses, particularly in that sort of light industrial commercial field where people that need big warehousing and logistics types needs, a lot of them head out towards Ipswich because there's large scale land available relatively cheaply and the transport connections are good. You've got the Ipswich motorway, the Cunningham highway, the Warrego highway, and also rail links from the centre of Ipswich City right through to the centre of Brisbane, to the Brisbane CBD. So lots of jobs nodes out there. Major master plan developments are taking place and have taken place, of which the most notable one is Springfield, which has been a work in progress for over 20 years. It's still evolving. It's projected eventually to be home to about 60,000 people. So that's part of the equation. The Amberley RAF base is another part, and that's always expanding. They're spending hundreds of millions of dollars, I guess over time more like billions of dollars. It's just eternally expanding. So it's a big jobs nodes and a big generator of economic activity. There's a number of major hospitals, big development happening. So the construction industry is a major employer, and tourism also is part of the economy. So then we look at the underlying property market, and the thing that stands out about Ipswich City is the affordability of its many of its suburbs, or some of them, have median house prices in the 200,000s, but more common, and what is common right across Ipswich City is suburbs with median prices somewhere in the 300,000s. But there are a few who are sort of like up, for example, median house price 240,000, North Ipswich 280,000, and then you've got suburbs like Silkstone just over 300,000, Bundamba also just over 300,000. So, particularly compared to the bigger cities, a very, very high level of affordability. Very popular market. Many of these suburbs have a very high turnover. I'm just looking at a list of suburbs now of Ipswich City, and there's many that have well over 100 sales per year, and there's some Brassel 205 sales in the last 12 months, Raceview 200, Red Bank Plains 377 house sales in the last 12 months, and Springfield Lakes, part of that Springfield master plan community, almost 400 sales in the last 12 months. The most expensive of these suburbs are in the sort of 400,000 with their median prices, or Augustine Heights is a bit over 500,000. There's been some growth in that market, excuse me, only moderate for most suburbs, sort of 4, 5, 6% in the last 12 months. That's the beginnings, I believe, of a growth spurt. So there's some big things happening in the economy, big jobs nodes being created, which I'll talk about in a moment when I get to that section of the report. Eastern Heights has been the growth leader. Its median house price has risen 14% in the last 12 months. So there are some growth markets there. Another big attractant, particularly for property investors, apart from the affordable prices, is the high rental yields. Most of the suburbs on the list I'm looking at have median rental yields above 5%. Leichhardt is 6%. Ripley, Raceview, North Ipswich, they're all sort of 5.5, 5.6%. So well above average with the rental yields. Vacancies, they're a little bit high in some areas, but not alarmingly so. Most of the postcodes of the Ipswich local government area have vacancy rates sort of 2.5 to 3%. Some of the newer development areas are a bit higher than, and one of them is above 4%, as new development areas sometimes are, as new projects come into the market. So the final section of the report that we look at is future prospects, and this is a really important one. This is the part of the report where we speculate on the potential for an area to show growth. And the thing that stands out about Ipswich is the amount that's been spent on new development, new infrastructure, and the creation of new jobs nodes. In terms of transport infrastructure, there's ongoing upgrades to the Ipswich motorway. That's the big motorway that connects Ipswich to the centre of Brisbane, or towards the centre of Brisbane. There's a further upgrade of $400 million happening. The Cunningham Highway is another important road link there. There's a big upgrade proposed for that. Extension of rail links. They recently were extended out to Springfield, and there's plans to have a further extension from there to Red Bank Plains. So quite a bit being spent on transport infrastructure. There's money being spent on the health sector. The RAF-based Ambler, as I mentioned, there's a current expansion of $300 million underway, and there's a further expansion of about $580 million approved and in planning. There are commercial developments, mainly big commercial industrial parks to house businesses. There's a $350 million project at Wacol under construction. There's an expansion of one of the major shopping centres at Springfield underway. So plenty of things happening in that regard, but probably the biggest ticket items are the major residential developments and master plan communities. Springfield continues to evolve. The new master plan community in Ripley Valley is a very big project, multi-billion-dollar project over time. So projects that ilk are certainly part of the Ipswich landscape. One of the things that really puts Ipswich on the radar screen for me is the recent announcement of a $5 billion defence contract to build vehicles for the Army, and the factory where those vehicles will be built is in Ipswich City. So there's another huge jobs node about to be created. And that is going to take place in what I call the Red Bank Precinct. So this is a cluster of established older suburbs which are at the eastern end of Ipswich City local government area, which means it's the section that's closest to the centre of Brisbane. It's on the Ipswich motorway, it's on the train line, there's lots of shopping in that area, major employment nodes, and this $5 billion defence contract is going to take place in that area, adding to the appeal of that area because people do like to live close to where they work. So big jobs nodes attracts demand for residential real estate. Most of those suburbs, we're talking about suburbs like Goodna, Red Bank Plains, have median house prices in the 300,000s. Some of the newer suburbs in that area are perhaps a little bit more expensive, but they're also proximate to the Springfield master plan community where there is great infrastructure. There's a university campus, big shopping complexes, a private hospital, the new train link that connects to the centre of Brisbane. So it's a pretty good precinct to consider. Affordable prices, high rental yields, and good amenities, shopping, plenty of schools, and proximity to those major jobs nodes. So that's all part of the landscape of Ipswich City, the most affordable part of the Brisbane metropolitan area in terms of property markets. A market, I believe, that's on the rise, being driven by what's happening in the areas of business, infrastructure spending, and property development. So it's one to watch. And if you're looking for affordable real estate with above average rental yields and prospects for some decent capital growth, Ipswich City, southwest of the Brisbane metropolitan area, is one to consider. If you want to find out more about it and read in detail about what it has to offer, or indeed about any other location that we rate around Australia, go to the hotspotting.com.au website and check out our location reports page. Okay, that's it for now. Terry Ryder from Hotspotting signing off. I will talk to you again soon.